Welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Kim, and in today's explainer, we're completely unmasking the hidden mechanics of chemical reactions. We're going to peel back the layers of those basic chalkboard formulas and reveal the incredibly dynamic, microscopic reality of what's truly happening right there inside the beaker.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever looked at a reaction and wondered, what actually happens when two chemicals mix in water? Well, today, I want you to step into the shoes of a chemical investigator. We're going to solve the ultimate mystery of aqueous solutions. Think about it. When substances dissolve, do they just stay the same? Do they change? How do they actually interact with one another? It is this absolutely fascinating microscopic dance, and we are going to learn how to track every single move.
Now, at the macroscopic level, pouring two clear liquids together to suddenly form a solid block of precipitate, it looks almost like magic, right? It's that classic chemistry demo we all love. But here's the secret. That is just a macroscopic illusion. Our eyes are only seeing the final bulk result. To find the true culprits of this chemical change, we actually need to zoom way in. We have to go beyond the glass of the beaker, right down to the level of individual atoms and ions. To guide our investigation today, we've got a simple three-step roadmap. First, we'll start at the surface with the molecular equation. Then, we break that down into the complete ionic equation. And finally, we strip away all the noise to find the absolute core truth with the Net Ionic Equation.
Starting with level 1, the molecular equation and electrolytes.
So, in a standard molecular equation, everything looks perfectly intact. It's kind of like a crime scene where the evidence seems neatly bonded together, say sodium chloride or silver nitrate. But the absolutely crucial detail you have to watch out for is that little AQ symbol next to them, aqueous. Because once you add water, well, water changes everything. To understand why, we have to talk about electrolytes. When dissolved in water, these substances physically break up into positively charged cations and negatively charged anions. And this process, ionization, it completely shatters the neat little illusion of the molecular equation. These compounds aren't actually just sitting there as bonded pairs anymore. They are literally being ripped apart by the surrounding water molecules.
But here's the catch. Not all electrolytes are created equal. We've got strong electrolytes, like your strong acids, strong bases, and most salts. These guys ionize 100%. You put a strong electrolyte in water and bam, it completely breaks apart. But then we have weak electrolytes, like acetic acid. These only partially ionize, usually just somewhere between 1 and 10%. So the vast majority of a weak electrolyte actually stays bonded together in its unionized molecular form. Keep that in the back of your mind because this distinction is going to be incredibly important as we build our equations later.
Now, what's really interesting about this is, if everything is just floating around as dissociated ions, how do we know if a reaction is actually going to happen? Well, we use solubility rules. Think of this logic as our detective's magnifying glass. It helps us predict if two ions will bump into each other and form an insoluble solid, which of course we call a precipitate. For instance, alkali metals and nitrates, they are practically always soluble. They'll just stay as separated aqueous ions. But hydroxides and heavy metals, they're often insoluble. So if they happen to meet in solution, they lock together and drop right out of the liquid as a solid.
Moving on to level 2, the complete ionic equation.
This is where we gather all our suspects in their true aqueous forms. Let's walk through a classic double replacement example. Imagine mixing aqueous silver nitrate and aqueous sodium chloride. We stop pretending everything is bonded and we write down exactly what is happening in the water. So, on the reactant side, we've got our silver cation, our nitrate anion, our sodium cation, and our chloride ion, all just floating around freely. But, relying on those solubility rules, we know that when silver meets chloride, they form an insoluble solid. So on the product side, we write AgCl intact as a solid, while the sodium and nitrate remain completely separated as aqueous ions.
There are a few absolute golden rules you must memorize for writing complete ionic equations. First, split all aqueous strong electrolytes into their individual ions. Second, keep your solids, your precipitates, your liquids like water, and your gases completely intact. Do not break them apart. And finally, and I cannot stress this enough, never split weak acids. Remember what we said earlier? Because they only ionize a tiny bit, the most accurate way to represent them is in their full bonded molecular form.
And that brings us to level 3, spotting the spectator ions.
In every good detective story, there are always innocent bystanders, right? As our sources point out, to spectate simply means to watch the other ions react. It is exactly like going to a sports game. You buy a ticket, you're in the arena, you are definitely part of the crowd, but you aren't down on the field actually throwing the ball. Spectator ions are physically present in the solution, sure, but they undergo absolutely zero chemical or physical change during the reaction.
So how do we handle these bystanders? We literally just cross them out. If you look at our example, the sodium ions and nitrate ions appear in the exact same aqueous form on both the reactant and product sides. Because they remain totally unchanged, we strike them out and dismiss them from our inquiry entirely. Oh, and by the way, if you evaluate a reaction and find that you have to cross out every single ion on both sides, that means absolutely no precipitation reaction took place.
Which leads us to the core truth, the net ionic equation.
So the crucial point is, since a reaction did take place in our example, we finally arrive at our grand finale. The net ionic equation identifies the exact chemical species undergoing a change. Stripping everything else away, we are left with just the aqueous silver ion reacting with the aqueous chloride ion to form solid silver chloride. And that's it. That is the fundamental truth of what happened in that beaker. Honestly, it doesn't even matter if we originally started with sodium chloride or potassium chloride. The net ionic equation distills the whole chaotic mixture down to the actual physical chemical event.
Let's ground this with a real-world anchor: chemical precipitation and wastewater treatment.
Now, you might be sitting there wondering, okay, Dr. Chem, why does this theoretical chemistry actually matter to me? Well, it is quite literally how engineers keep our planet safe. Environmental engineers rely on this exact net ionic chemistry to separate highly toxic pollutants from our water systems. By deeply understanding solubility rules, they can force precipitation reactions to remove dangerous heavy metals like lead, mercury, and cadmium. They can pull out phosphates to prevent those devastating algae blooms in our lakes, and they can remove suspended solids. They're taking these toxic dissolved ions and converting them into heavy, solid precipitates that just settle out as sludge, leaving clean, safe water behind.
To actually pull this off on a massive municipal scale, treatment facilities use specific precipitating agents. They'll add chemicals like aluminum sulfate, often called alum, ferric chloride, and lime directly into the wastewater. Adding these specific chemicals forces the very double replacement reactions we just mapped out. They flood the water with ions that they know for a fact will pair up with the pollutants to form insoluble solids. It is literally net ionic equations in action, on an industrial scale, saving our ecosystems every single day.
But, the science never stops advancing. Right now, researchers are exploring brand new, bio-based precipitating agents derived from renewable resources, like organic polymers. So what does this all mean for the future? How will these new bio-based precipitating agents revolutionize green wastewater treatment? Imagine completely replacing synthetic chemicals with natural, biodegradable materials that do the exact same net ionic job, but with a drastically reduced environmental footprint. It's a pretty provocative thought, isn't it? It just goes to show how mastering tiny, microscopic ionic equations can empower us to solve some of the most massive global challenges we face today. Keep investigating, keep questioning the chemical world around you, and I will see you all in the next Explainer.